Most people are using AI completely wrong, and it's costing them thousands in missed opportunities every single month. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Claude AI is not just another chatbot. It is literally the most powerful business partner that you are never going to have to pay a salary to. And if you're not using it properly, you're basically leaving thousands of pounds on the table every single week and every single month. And here's the thing. Everyone's asking Claude random questions and getting random generic answers, the same as ChatGPT. But what if I told you that you can train Claude to think, speak, create content, and basically act exactly like you? And what if it knew your brand inside out, your clients' exact problems, pain points, and generate content and copywriting that sounds exactly like you straight from your brain? The problem that most people are having with Claude is they're treating it like Google, right? They're asking it basic questions, wondering why they're getting basic results. But when you properly train Claude with your project knowledge, your instructions, your voice, your framework, your transcripts, it becomes an absolute infinite, unlimited tool that you can use inside your business. I'm talking about generating viral social media content ideas, scripts in seconds, emails in seconds, lead magnets in seconds, web page copy in seconds, anything to do with your writing output. It is absolutely frightening. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you exactly how it works. I'm going to break down the 4 core areas that will completely transform basically how you use Claude AI. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand this isn't just about AI. It's about multiplying your output without losing your authenticity at the same time. So first up, we need to talk about the foundation, right? Because here's what people most of the time get wrong. They think that they can just jump into it and start asking it questions and it's suddenly going to be you and act like you and talk like you. And that's not the case at all. You need to understand that Claude basically works very, very different to ChatGPT, but it has quite a lot of similar functionality as well in terms of project knowledge and instructions. The difference with Claude is it's based on human rationale and human thinking and human outputs. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that now. Right, so what we've basically got here is the overview to what Claude is. So you've got the normal chat functionality at the top, so the same as what you would basically do for ChatGPT or other kind of communication platforms. Inside of Claude, I never ever use the chat because I will just focus on building projects out. So inside of these project spaces, I have pretty much got absolutely every single thing that I do for myself and every single thing that I do for clients in different areas and stuff as well. So inside of my projects, as you'll basically see, I've got podcast scripts that I'll look at generating web pages, VSLs, how I turn sales call transcripts into content, generating Instagram captions, looking at an actual support project, which is trained on all of my transcripts I've ever created, writing emails, the logic bank, which I'll talk through in a second. And then on top of that, I've just obviously got my one-to-one clients and I have some other projects as well. So basically, in essence, the overview to Claude is to focus on getting the project set up for the outputs that you want. And then what we'll do in a second is we'll actually dive into the different elements of how to actually train the project knowledge, how to set up instructions, and how to use its functionality properly. Right, do you see what I mean there? That's the difference between using AI as a tool versus using it as an actual business partner, right? And this is where it gets really interesting, because once you actually understand the foundations, you need to know how to basically set things up properly. And this is where people get this completely wrong and mess it up. They throw out random information into Claude and wonder why it's not giving them what they want back. But there's a specific process and a specific way to structure your project knowledge that turns Claude from a generic assistant into your personal content, media production, marketing team, support, absolutely everything. So let me show you exactly what I mean by the actual project knowledge and instructions with that. The first thing that you need to do when you are setting up your Claude is to basically start with a logic bank. So inside of this logic bank is where I've basically compounded a substantial amount of intellectual property. So we've basically got everything to do with my company, my offer, target and dream customer, brand identity, founder voice and tone, client voice and tone, reflective infotainment. We've got a human knowledge exercise, which is an absolute golden nugget for this, which is obviously down there. We've got different marketing, so emotional triggering, curiosity bridging, pain articulation, value proposition, like you get the gist, guys. So the beauty of obviously having this type of setup is I would never in a million years, and you will never in a million years remember all of that information. right? That's bottom line. When we are writing emails, designing lead magnets, designing web pages, creating content, writing scripts, writing captions, we are never going to remember to articulate the marketing intellectual property and company intellectual property at that level. And then the next thing from that point is you've basically got your project instructions. So these project instructions is basically going to be directing me to look at how to actually use the transcripts for all writing styles, making sure it's got English language and multiple different areas. So if I went into another one, for example, and I went on to my sales call into content one here, what you've basically got is the instructions, which is also then listing out how to use all of that IP that's submitted inside of the actual project knowledge. So as you can basically see on this one here, that's like 83% max. That's got a lot of sales call transcripts obviously put into it as well. But this basically just means that when you are writing and you are asking and communicating with Claude, it will then use the project instructions and dip into the directory on that, but it'll also pull through all of that infinite information and marketing material. So when it comes to basically anything to do with writing outputs, and if we think about a founder-led personal brand, which is what most companies are now, 80% of my workload comes down to me writing something or creating something. So writing an email sequence, marketing campaigns, designing a lead funnel, creating a lead magnet, designing social media posts, looking at LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Pretty much all of what we do comes down to writing. So that's why I use Claude, and this is basically how I train it up on the right-hand side there. So, and I'll talk you through this in a second. It is absolutely mental, right? The possibilities are literally endless when you set this up properly. And this is just how I'm using it. But here's the thing, having all this knowledge in Claude is only half of the battle, right? You still need to know how to actually input your IP, your transcripts, and basically make the content sound exactly like you. Transcripts are like gold, I say to people. It's gold dust. Because if you don't do this right, Claude might have all the information, but it's still going to sound generic. And that's the last thing that we want in this process. So what I want to show you now is the exact process that I use to feed Claude with everything, that it needs to become an extension of my brain and actually 10 times or 1,000 times better than what I ever possibly could. It's really important to know, right, when you are uploading files, you can 100% load it as a Google link. You've got GitHub, you can upload a file from a device. I will always use adding text. The rationale for that is AI will naturally read text a lot better than it will do a file. For ChatGPT may be a bit different, but for me, this is just a copy and paste job. So if I basically went out onto my media drive, so inside of my media drive, you'll basically see how I've got LinkedIn, newsletter, paid media, podcasts, my shorts and carousels, my YouTube. Everything is basically organized inside here. And on the right hand side, you've got a logic bank there. So inside of all of the company IP that you've just seen a minute ago. So all of this information is basically saved inside of a new offer IP drive there. So I have all of my company marketing IP, and then it is really a simple case of basically once I've got that, Control A, and then moving back onto Claude, clicking onto the plus, and then adding in text. Yeah, it's a little bit of a long-winded job because you're doing it manually, one at a time to set all the projects up, but I'm always going to use what AI prefers, and it much prefers reading text than links. So once you've basically got all of your company and marketing IP, you then basically load it into the project knowledge on the right-hand side, and then the next thing to do from that point is think about what transcripts that you've got available. So for example, if I went onto my new offer IP and I went back onto here, what you've got there is you've got my entire book. So my 50-50 rule, which is on that shelf up there, loaded in. I have got a human knowledge exercise and task, which is what I get clients to do. So you can train AI to know your beliefs, experiences, and opinions because it can't read your mind. You've then got this one here. So if I clicked onto that document, that has got how many pages? I think that's got 800 pages or something daft like that. 802 pages of transcripts from my actual course. It's also got my old videos. It's got sales call transcripts. It's got my entire system trained into it and every single YouTube transcript that I've ever done. So the rationale why you need to focus on transcripts is because the more context that you give it, not only will it replicate your writing style from transcripts, but it'll also learn all of the information that you're talking about in those videos. So for you, this may be looking at Loom videos that you've done for clients. This may be looking at previous courses or live webinars or whatever it may be where you've got any form of transcripts. If you've got a YouTube channel and you've done podcasts, or if you've done episodes, like all of those transcripts are an absolute goldmine. And what you'll basically find, so if you basically click onto YouTube at the top, and I went onto my channel here. So if you're not subscribing, please subscribe. But if I clicked onto my video here and I wanted to use a transcript from there, I just click onto that little one there, go down to the bottom, click onto show transcript. I will then toggle that off, and then I'll basically go through and I'll just copy and paste that onto a document. So if you've got an executive assistant or a VA, they can do all this for you. That's what I do for myself and for clients. So exactly the same as if I went onto Fathom. So if you don't currently have Fathom, I would highly recommend that you have it. So on Fathom, what this will basically mean is you can click onto certain areas. So if I just went onto a sales call that I did, not a sales call, a sales group call I did yesterday, and I went onto that there, I've got the ability to use this transcript. I can then copy that transcript, stick it all onto a Google Word document and load that in. So this is an absolute gold mine, right? It's exactly the same as if you've got Loom, for example. If I went onto my Loom, I'll have the ability on the right hand side to look at a so this is a video that I did on Claude earlier because I use it so much, transcript there, right? So your transcripts are your absolute gold mine. So the more information that you've got there that you can extract onto a Google Word document, and again, this does not need to be neat, you just stick it all into a single document, you load that into your project knowledge. Not only is that going to then basically know all of your personal intellectual property, but it will also know your writing styles and language styles from how you are basically talking on videos. So it'll replicate your most human-based output. And that's the trick, guys. That's how you turn Claude from being a basic tool into something that actually understands your business, your voice, and your everything, really. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, right? And this is probably the most important part because it's where everything comes together with the right type of output. You can have the best setup in the world, right? But if you don't know how to actually communicate with AI and Claude effectively, you're still not going to get the same actual results and the results that you want. So there's a specific way that you need to speak to Claude and a specific way to give it instructions that basically gives you exactly what you want every single time within each project. And once this basically is mastered, content creation, media production, and anything to do with your writing outputs becomes absolutely effortless. So let me just show you exactly what I mean now. And then from that point, you've got communicating. So I'm actually really lazy, and the rationale that I'm really lazy is because I've got project knowledge and project instructions set up on a really high level. So all I basically do here is either just use a keyboard shortcut or I'll just basically type in, so using project knowledge and project instructions and ensuring the writing output is in my transcript language, insert prompt, right? It's as simple as that. So what that's going to basically do, and it'll naturally do this anyway, it's just the fact that I'm quite meticulous and I really want to make sure. So I will either basically write out a massive paragraph on exactly what I want, down to the details, the direction, the dates, whatever it may be, and then the output will give it back. If I want to do this quite lazy, right, what I could do is I could go onto GPT-5 there and go, can you give me a GPT-5 GOAT prompt to use in Claude to generate a VSL funnel, right? So I could lean into GPT-5 to give me the prompt. So it'll ask for obviously all this specific information, but we've already got that submitted inside of Claude. But what I could do from that point is I'll just kind of go onto that, wait for that to be done, go back onto my Claude with the prompt that I've already kind of put in, and then insert that with information, and that will give me out any output that I want in my writing style, with my brand identity, with my company IP, with my marketing IP, and it's going to give you a production at a level that is never even possible before. And there's loads of other functionality to this, which I'll probably do in other videos, guys, but that's an introduction on how to set up and how to use Claude AI. Right, so there you have it. That is exactly how I use Claude on an entry level. Like, I'll do more videos in the future on this, but this will basically run all of my content production, all of my writing outputs, all of my assets, pretty much everything. And it's just scratching the surface compared to what it is. So what you've just seen is the foundation, the core system that basically builds everything else on top of that. But when you really start deep diving into this stuff, you start to use Claude from a content perspective to really start thinking about, oh my God, 90% of what I do as a founder-led personal brand is writing. How can I use this for everything that I'm doing, right? This is not just about generating generic content for mums. It's a way that you can look at every single thing that you are doing from a writing output in your business and build a project around that. Again, it's a game changer. And the thing is, most people are going to watch this video and think, oh, that's pretty cool, and then go back to doing things the hard way. They're going to keep struggling with content creation, keep spending hours on what should take minutes and seconds now, and keep wondering why competitors seem to be constantly pumping volume out while they're still struggling in manual chaos. But if you're serious about this and you actually want to transform how you create content, scale your business, create assets, and do everything that I'm speaking about, then this is just the beginning. Look, I have spent the last few months and the last year testing hundreds of different AI systems with hundreds of different clients, and I've refined every single process, every single prompt, every single setup to make sure that things work effortlessly for us and for clients. And if you want access to that complete system, the advanced strategies, the exact prompts, the templates, the frameworks, then you need to check out the link in my bio with the AI-powered smart scaling system and my program that I run. This is not just about using AI better. This is about completely transforming how you approach everything that you are doing in business. You need to completely change everything that you have ever learned because it's now different. The link is in my bio. Don't wait on it, guys. The people who master this stuff first are going to have a massive advantage on the people who just delay it down the line and beat themselves up because they didn't get started. If this video has helped you understand what's actually possible with Claude, then smash that subscribe button because I'm just getting started with this style content and there's so much more that I want to show you. I'll see you on the next one.